Wolverhampton Wanderers, also known as the Wolves of the Premier League, have been in the English top division a total of 66 times, and ever since they got promoted back to the Premier League in 2018, they've been a bit of an underdog in the league. An underwolf, if you may.
Okay, no, don't ask me how that joke made the final cut.
In their first 2 seasons back in the Premier League, they got 7th place on the Premier League table for both of those first 2 seasons, and this Premier League season they had their best ever start to a Premier League campaign, but unfortunately due to them missing some crucial players due to injuries and having a bad run of games, they are currently 14th place on the Premier League table. So I thought I'll bring it upon myself to come up with 5 signings that will turn Wolverhampton Wanderers into a top 4 team, into a Champions League team, because Wolves have always been a top side, always been around that Europa League spot in the Premier League. So I thought I'd come up with signings that would actually turn Wolves into a top 4 team. Yes, I know things like form matters, I know managerial tactics, injuries, all of that matters, but it's just slightly too long for a YouTube title to say 5 signings that will turn Wolves into a top 4 team if form, managerial tactics and injuries weren't a thing. Also subscribe to Fincross Football. I mean, it's just a bit too long and unnecessary. Except for that last bit, you should definitely subscribe to this channel, as it is the year I want to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and the only way that can happen is if you hit that subscribe button down below. So please go ahead and do that. Come on, I know you want to, just do it. So finally getting into my 5 transfers, the first one I have for you guys is a banger, as it is going to be Andre Silva in the striker position, and I genuinely think this could be a fantastic signing for multiple reasons. First of all, he is Portuguese, and we all know that Wolves love their Portuguese players the same way Zlatan loves, well, let's be honest, Zlatan. And at the end of the day, Andre Silva is only 25 years old. He is a Portuguese international player, and ever since he moved to Eintracht Frankfurt 2 seasons ago, he has looked fantastic. Last season, he got 12 goals in 25 Bundesliga games. This season, though, he's gotten 11 goals in 14 Bundesliga games. He is really not looking bad as a striker option, and let's be honest, Wolves need a striker at the moment. Jimenez has been injured for the past few months, but even when he gets back, if he gets injured again, what we've learnt is Wolves without Jimenez up front is essentially like a chocolate coffee pot. It's just not very useful, unfortunately, and even with their £50 million teenage transfer Fabio Silva up front, they are still not looking good, which, by the way, who decided to spend £50 million on someone who's only had 12 senior appearances for Porto? What else do you expect? But as I said, Andre Silva I think could be a great backup option, and even if Jimenez is all back and in full form, you could play the 2 up front together, and I think it would be a deadly partnership. Player number 2 I have for you guys will be a creative midfielder in the likes of Fekir from Real Betis, and I think Fekir could be another excellent shout for Wolves, because over the last few years, the majority of Wolves' creative play have come from the fullback positions or the winger positions, and unfortunately for Wolves this season, Adama Traore has not been performing well up front. He's probably had more litres of oil put on his body than he's actually scored goals, and along with that, Wolves did sell Doherty to Tottenham Hotspurs in the previous transfer window. So in my opinion, an attacking midfielder is just what Wolves need, because at the moment, the closest thing they have to that is Podence, but other than that, they don't really have any other options. The other midfielders consist of players like Neves, Matinho, Dendoncker, who are all really good, but they are defensive midfielders. So an attacking midfielder like Fekir could be just what Wolves need. He's been consistent over the last 6, maybe even 7 years when it comes to both goals and assists for clubs like Lyon and Real Betis, and I think he'll want to move to the Premier League, because Real Betis over the last few seasons have ended mid-table in La Liga, and let's be honest, I think a player in the middle of the La Liga table would jump to any Premier League club the same way Cristiano Ronaldo would jump to any brand deal. It's just obvious, isn't it?
Buy everything at Shopee.
Now the third player I have for you guys, okay, I will admit it's a bit of a strange one, but please listen to my reasoning for it, as it is going to be Luke Shaw. Now, looking at Wolves' current left backs, they do have the likes of Johnny, Marcel, Nuri, obviously Johnny being the best option, but he has missed a lot of games. He has not played a single Premier League game this season due to injuries. And yes, I know Luke Shaw is also always injured. You don't have to tell me that. I am a Manchester United fan. Unfortunately, what do I mean unfortunately? We're top of the league. But one thing I can say as a Manchester United fan is I realize how hard Luke Shaw works. If it wasn't for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I could easily say that Luke Shaw on his day is probably our best defender. I can genuinely say that. In terms of attacking ability, he moves up the field really, really well. He gives us all, and defensively, he works so solidly. He can even play as a centre back, and he is a big game player, which could be huge for Wolves. As we saw in the game versus Liverpool, I wrote Luke Shaw down on these notes before the game versus Liverpool, and Luke Shaw marked Mo Salah like there was no tomorrow. He was in his pocket. If Mo Salah had to take things out of his pocket that evening, he would have had his phone, his wallet, his car keys, and Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw is a big game player, and he could be huge to a team like Wolves, which, by the way, I don't think Manchester United would hate the idea or deny the idea of selling him, because they do have Alex Telles now. That I would argue Luke Shaw has been the better player this season, but you know what? United do have Alex Telles, they do have Brandon Williams. I don't think they'd be opposed to the idea of selling Luke Shaw. And at the end of the day, there is that obviously homegrown player rule in the Premier League, where every Premier League team has to have at least 8 homegrown players. And as far as English homegrown players go, Luke Shaw is not a bad option for Wolves. Homegrown player, and as I said, really good modern day fullback. He is a great option. Or as they say in Portuguese, uma ótima opção. The second last signing I have for you guys will be yet another weird one to an extent, as it is going to be Mason Holgate in the centre-back position from Everton. Now, when looking at Wolves, over the last few names, they've really made a name for themselves in the Premier League in terms of their defensive abilities. Now, normally they do play 3 centre-backs with the likes of Connor Cody, Willy Bolly, Saiss, or even just 2 centre-backs with a few holding midfielders, and I really, in my opinion, think Holgate would fit this system perfectly. Only 24 years old, he is still very, very young, he's fast, and believe it or not, statistically, when it comes to tackles and tackles won, he's actually got better statistics than all 3 of Wolves' centre-backs. I think he could really fit this team perfectly. Once again, he is an English centre-back. I spoke about how important that is for a team earlier. Last season, he got 27 appearances in the Premier League for Everton, but this season he's lacking a bit of game time. Obviously, he has been injured a tiny bit, but he is being played under Michael Keane and Yerry Mina. I'm sure he's eager for more game time. I think he could have a huge impact with his strength and speed at Wolves. And at the end of the day, Saiss and Willy Bolly are hitting 30 years old in terms of age. And Wolves, I do feel like they need to get a few young centre-backs. I think Kilman has a lot of potential to him. But in terms of players who I think are developed, I think Holgate could be a huge part of Wolves' future. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have now reached our 5th and final signing to transform Wolves into a top 4 team in the Premier League. And I've gone for Lozano in the right wing position from Napoli. Now, whether it's his own ability or whether he pushes Adama Traore to be his absolute best once again, I think Lozano could have a huge impact on the team. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one thing I did want to tell you guys is when it comes to all 5 of these signings I would make, not all of them would just get into the first team straight away. When it comes to wanting to be a Champions League team, a top 4 team, one thing you do need is squad depth. You need at least minimum 2 to 3 good players in every position, and I feel like that's what my 5 signings would do to this Wolves team. And as I said, I think Lozano would have a huge impact, whether it's him pushing Adama Traore or his own numbers. So far this season, he's gotten 7 goals and 2 assists in 16 Serie A games for Napoli. And when he played for PSV in the Eredivisie, in 2 separate seasons, he got 17 goals and 8 assists in both of them. That is insane in terms of numbers. But ladies and gentlemen, those are all 5 of my signings. And what you currently see on screen is the current Wolves team versus the new Wolves team with my 5 signings. And what I want you guys to please do is put down in the comment section down below is, have I achieved what I set out to achieve? Can my brand new Wolves team reach a top 4 spot in the Premier League? Have I created a Champions League Wolves team? I want you guys to tell me that please in the comment section down below, along with whether you want me to do this with any other team, whether it's a team that you want to reach a Champions League spot, avoid relegation, obviously become title contenders, anything like that. Please tell me down below which team you want me to do next. But other than that, guys, please don't forget to subscribe. Obviously, as I said, trying to reach 1,000 subscribers this year, I would really appreciate it. But guys, obviously at the end of the day, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I do love and appreciate every single one of you. Have a good one. Finn, FYNN. Cheers.
Unknown brain, Marvin Divine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and